Hey people, it's Inauguration Day. The royal family is making its way back into the White House. It's a cold son of a bitch here in South Mississippi. Got some frozen pipes. Got them thawed out. Everything's good. And I got you an excellent flick coming up. And for all the atheists out there, I'm fixing to prove evidence of God. And the reason it's so difficult is because the Christians got the story totally turned upside down. But I'm going to show you something in ancient language that proves it. If you had brothers and sisters, you know, when your little brother had your G.I. Joe in his mouth, when it come out, it was all germified. And where the hell that word comes from, there's no telling. But you hear kids use it all the time. Where's that word? You're not going to find it in the dictionary. It's an ancient Hebrew word. And you'll find it here at the top of the Song of Moses in Deuteronomy 32. In several other places. It's even in the book of Job. You know, this said to have been written 6,000 years ago. It was a word. And like everything else, it has a couple more meanings. But, you know, the A words read backwards. It's a J-R-M-A-F-Y, germify. And it means come out of the mouth. And you can see that better in the Greek, you know, from out of my mouth. The extum at a shmo. The extum at. And a shmo, you see that over here in the Hebrew, the shmo. And that's the echo. That's what a shmo is, somebody who repeats something, a gossip. And so for millions of years now, you know, language has been taught through song. Travel the world today, anybody whose second language is English, they're going to tell you they learn it from Amerify, the American songs. And in that movie yesterday I showed you, where Jerome was supposed to write a Latin Bible that the Hebrews could get along with because they weren't liking the Latin translations that were coming from the Greek. But I'm sure Jerome wasn't one man. But do you see that movie? It looks like this. I put up a couple days ago. So I put all these side by side like this to help me. I color code it to help me understand. And I hope it helps you. But this is the Hebrew, and this is the King James interpretation of the Hebrew. This is the Greek and the King James interpretation of the Greek. And then this is Jerome's Latin up here. And this is Google translation of Jerome's Latin. So you know in the Tower of Babel, they'll tell you that God came down and changed the language. And that's what all this Greek and this Latin and all the King James and the Google interpretations are trying to do. But it doesn't matter because God's word is always going to emerge, emergify. You know, it's going to germify, it's going to grow. You know, this is the language of the earth. This is the earth words. And what's some awards? You know, O-E is an odal, it's a ovav. You know, O-W-A-R-D-S. And what's some awards? Amerify. You know, a merit, a good thing. Amar, ancient word for gold. America, you know, the rich, the gold rich. And so what's a shmo, you know, as an echo is when you read a word after this mark here, you're reading it to IPI then. When you're reading straight through, you read the A words backwards. And that's when it's a germify. That's when it's out of the mouth. You know, that's the spoken word. You know, what's awards merge of phi, you know, of phi behind. You know, give them gold, emerge, awards, amerify. And so a has, and you know, they say the AZ is the base word for the ear, but I've seen some ancient artwork and the AZ was pointed at the neck. And I think that means, you know, the power cut, the AZ, power cut. You know, and has in, where the power cuts off, it's got ears in there. And has in, vesin, to fill in. And so a mem, you know, is, you replace it with the en, like the Egyptian N. But the mem is also what's happening in memory, up in the head, in the heavens. And has in, vesin, whatever, you know, what you teenage girl tells you when you try to ask her for something, whatever. And so whatever, it didn't make any sense because it's a number. A dauber is a little poker used to measure how deep you're going to plant your seed as a dibber. And whatever, that's where your word abracadabra come from, the dabber. And has investum whatever, whatsome awards, a meritsify, a mergify. And so it depends on your level of knowledge how this reads. But that's what it said on the last page. In Deuteronomy 31 at the end, it's talking about the song, and it says it's a call and response. It's a shmo. It's a echo. And so the proof of God is right here in the language. It don't matter how many times they try to kill it, the earth will always bring the language back. And so has in vesin, the vesin is a time. The heavens are used for time. It's the hour on in the Greek. And that's what, and the time and whatever. And take a measurement, a daber, a number. And so you can see that, closer over here in the Latin. A dite is written down. To indite is when they put it in writing. And of dite, and what is written. And this is a casually. And that's where your word occasion come from. It means just so happens to time. Just so happens to be, And of dite, written the times. And this is a quest here. And it's like a request is when you ask for something. And so that's that shmo is coming back at you. It's a echolocation. You shoot a laser at the moon. And so, the sun shines on the moon. And we can tell by the way the moon's glowing. It loves the sun. It's going to point toward wherever the sun is. It's in its echo. And so of dite, a casually, a quest locor. Just take that R off and put it on the other side, And of dite, of written down, the casual, the time of request location. And the audit, the IA reads a U. The auditory, double R reading as a I. The terry of verba. And a verb was the first spoken words, the first germ. Before that, it was a visible language. All the signs had a meaning, a vowel, a connected. And they say there was no spoken words till it became a vowel. And a verb, arise me, to raise up a word. And so, what's awards germify? That's when you done licked it, it's yours now, nobody else wants it, your mouth has done been on it, and what's some awards that germify? Make sure you get your share, you done licked 6 of them. Has in vesin whatever's mine, I done licked it. And then the Greek over here, this earth word is the geromatics, that's where your word grammatics come from. And it's a jerkomatics because it's a little more than grammatics. It's got a little more going on. It's got the schmo going on in there. It's got a couple different twists in the game of how to read it. It's a cup engraved with the alphabet or an inscription. Knowing one's letters of a good scholar from gramma and ikos or grammatos. Agrammatos is without learning, illiterate, or unable to utter articulate sounds. And so that's before you could put a sound to it. The agrammatos. And so grammatic, tick is the skill or the sons, the techies, the texts, and with a skilled sound. So it would be the grammatics to matters move. The matters move is time. Skilled in the spoken language of time. And you'll see that in the Hebrew numbers, all the codes in there. And so, prosich, a whore of who? Prosich, the whore of who? And the L followed by the A is an N, as in la, as in no. And this is the whore of nails. And prosich means move forward with caution. Prosich, Forward with caution. The whore of who? The N followed by the E is a V. The whore of, the ore of. That's the planets that go around and they dip, and then they shoot across the sky, then they stop for a minute, And the whore of, and the nails, the whore of nails, that's a Jersey girl. That's a Jersey girl over here in the Hebrew. Whatever. Has investment, whatever. What's them awards, germify. And a whack. A key is a vav, a W. A whack, W-A-K, a whack of a touch. She's a whack of a touch. That's a Jersey girl. A whack of a touch. Grammata. A little bit crazy language going on in the grammatics. The A-E is already turned to the E-S, the grammatisk. And it's turning this E-K, S-K-S into an X. And the grammatics. The grammatics to matters move. They're not standing still, they're moving. A schmo, an echo, back and forth. And then you see in the Hebrew in the second line, nothing's given up. It's not supposed to be easy. Everything is supposed to be distilled. You got to distill it. You got to put it up in the heavens, up in the smim, up in your crown of your head, and you got to distill it down. You got to think about everything. And this distillery up here, this is a your pick'em. Your pick a mother. The mother is what you're starting with. If you're going to make vinegar, you start with mother of vinegar. But your pick the matter. Whatever you want to stick, to a fuck a tizzle. A fuck, to stick it in a tizzle kettle. A distillery, a tizzle kettle. And tiz will settle. What settles is to do, and the settle, the lighter makes her malides. The lighter makes her malides. And so, when you're distilling your better product, it's lighter, it goes up top. If you're distilling crude oil and making the different substance, your prime substance, your cleanest mixtures will be coming out the top. They're lighter. And your pick some other to fuck a tizzle. To stick it in the tizzle kettle. And the lighter makes her molodize. Molodize is shredded. The tender herb, as raindrops on the tender herb. It's just shredded. And survive all goes, J-O-S goes in. And your pixamather to fuck a tizzle, settle lighter, makes her molodize, and survive 'em all goes in, goes in. And this is fuck here. Usually you see it says, and they took their self wives, is the QH. But you see it on the other side of here with the maxims, it's a fuck, a F-O-Q-T, fucked, stabbed in the hole. And this word here, this is like the Greek word for the Hebrew abracadabra. You saw it up here, adabra, a cadabra, is to K is as, and adabra, as I spoke it, and abra, to create as I spoke it, abracadabra. But this is more of the Greek term. And it's a presto casto. And just like magic it was. As wet as two. Fucked in. The EG reads the EN. The G after the E. And as fucked in mamu. Mamu, they say, is the Hebrew word for the money, the god of money, the god of greed. And so it looks like Mamu is your tizzle kettle, your distillery, and that's how you made your money. And presto casto, as wet as two, a fucked in Mamu. And kataba, a kataba is to go down. The kataba worm only goes down, he never goes up. His whole life is spent going down. He does nothing but eats leaves and goes down. and he turns into a butterfly or a moth, and the moth goes up, but he turns into a catawba worm. He hatches his egg up in the tree, and he comes out a worm, and his whole life is doing nothing but going down, and that's what that is. And catawba means nothing but going down, and catawba too, and go down as the draws. Drop your pants. Go down as draws. A star come at 'em of, on the casting couch. As brose upon roasting. Ambrosia is the food of the gods in the Hebrew. And as ambrose, the food of God coming out of the distillery. Ambrose upon roasting, it's roasting over there in your kettle, in your tizzle kettle. And a sign, OSEIN, a sign of a name, a sign of a number, and a sign if it has a pictured on. Pictured on. The ancient hieroglyph for a snowflake is a six-pointed star. The star of Israel is a snowflake. Blue is cold. The Nords. As snowflakes upon the grass, and a sign if it has a pictured on. So, like I say, for thousands of years, people have been learning second languages by songs. So I'm not too sure how the Greek work out, because they tried to write this in the shadow of this Hebrew. But I know that this, what they call Hebrew, which is English, it plainly says it when you get down there to line 6, 7, 8, something like that. It plainly says 3 times that the language is English. Watch this movie that I'll put right up here in the corner at the end, and I'll show you more about that. But it plainly says it's English, that's Latin for English. And then in the Greek, and he will announce to you is the English. And write 'em on England of. And the Hebrew, it's a little older, and it's still calling it, the Phoenician, the phonics. So here's this movie up here in the top right if you missed it. And I'm going to cut this off here. I'm going to read some more of this Hebrew. Good day.